Today marks 2 weeks since the death of George Floyd. Massive nationwide protests are showing no signs of slowing down, and now there are calls all around the country to defund police departments. Amid demonstrations in Minneapolis, where Floyd was killed, a majority of city council members announced plans to dismantle the department there in favor of a new system of public safety. They did not say, though, what that may look like. The city's mayor does not support the idea, and he was booed during a weekend rally.
In Washington today, Democratic lawmakers are expected to introduce legislation that would overhaul police departments across the country. Among the changes, it would ban the use of chokeholds to subdue suspects and make it easier to prosecute officers for police brutality.
Attorney General William Barr told Face the Nation yesterday that he believes systemic racism is not a problem in U.S. law enforcement. Congresswoman Val Demings, who used to be Orlando's police chief, calls it the ghost in the room. The Florida Democrat is on the short list of potential running mates for presumptive presidential nominee Joe Biden. And Congresswoman Demings joins us now from Orlando. Congresswoman, good morning. A lot of news to get to. I want to start with the news out of Minneapolis. The city council voting to dismantle, not just defund, but dismantle and rebuild the police department there. Is that a strategy you could agree with?
Well, first of all, let me say good morning to you and everyone. It's good to be with you. There are a lot of things being proposed throughout the nation, and I think it's the direct result of people being hurt, disappointed at what happened to Mr. Floyd. That's all too familiar to them, but also angry and demanding change. And I do believe that everyone has a right to look at any proposal that is put forth, because there desperately needs to be change. I also believe that the council is being very thoughtful in terms of looking at all of the services that police provide. You know, there are some cases that statutorily law enforcement is responsible for investigating. They do a lot of things associated with natural disasters and terrorism. And so what I believe the council, along with law enforcement authorities and other community leaders, will sit down and look at everything and come out with a plan that allows them to keep Minneapolis safe, but also bring the community and the police together in a much needed and long overdue way.
Yeah. So, Congresswoman, you mentioned the context there, and you also mentioned that there are statutes that call police into situations where a badge and a gun may not be necessary. So on the question of defunding the police, what many people mean is move that money out of law enforcement hands and into another sort of community engagement fund. Do you support that strategy?
You know, as I've listened to what has occurred and watched what has occurred, certainly over the last 2 weeks, what happened to Mr. Floyd, there is no one on planet Earth, I hope, that believes anything about that situation should have happened. A lot went wrong there. But I'm also reminded of the words of former Chief David Brown out of Dallas, Texas, when he had 5 of his officers executed. And he said something to this effect, that every time society fails, the police are called in to fix it. And we all know, usually by the time the police are called, something has already gone drastically wrong within society. And look, as a former law enforcement officer and as a police chief, I know that the police are pulled to respond to situations on the street and in communities that they are not prepared to respond to and not trained, quite frankly, to respond to. While they have received several amounts of training and critical incident debriefing dealing with mental health, persons who are suffering from mental health issues, I do believe there is opportunity here for the police and the community to come together and kind of look at the responsibilities, things that police are taking on that they were never supposed to take on in the first place, and come out with a better plan.
Congresswoman, yeah, it sounds like you're not using the words defund the police, but in terms of narrowing the scope of the police mission, it sounds like you do agree that that could be in the future of this country. I want to talk about the bigger future of this country and the past. Attorney General Barr says systemic racism is not present in law enforcement. Other administration officials have said the same thing. How can you fix a problem that roughly half the leadership does not recognize exists?
Well, you know, I've said it multiple times long before the tragedy that happened with Mr. Floyd, that racism is and continues to be the ghost in the room. And look, I hear what Attorney General Barr is saying. I don't believe he believes that. I believe that is just a talking point, and unfortunately, when you fail to publicly admit that there is a problem, then it is extremely difficult to address the problem. And I've also said that the president and certainly the top cop, i.e. William Barr, have a direct responsibility to intervene and say that, yes, we have a problem, but we're going to put the full weight of the White House and the Department of Justice to fixing it, to righting it, and to showing compassion and bringing the country together. Unfortunately, I don't believe the president nor the attorney general have the capability of doing that. And certainly, if they are continuing to stand at the microphone on a public and international stage and say there is no problem, then quite frankly, I think that they have served their usefulness for this country.
Congresswoman Demings, we do have to go, but I can't let you go without asking you, have you spoken to former Vice President Joe Biden lately, and what has he said?
Well, I'm not going to share any personal conversations that I have or have not had with the vice president. But look, I am absolutely honored to be considered to run alongside Joe Biden, and I'll leave it there.
Okay. All right. Neither confirming or denying the conversations are underway. Congresswoman Val Demings, very well done. Thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there.